and get the WebKit exploit. I say WebKit exploit, right now it's more of just like a payload injector or payload loader website, but I'm sure it'll turn into a WebKit exploit soon. So far that's what we have, and that's what we need to do on the PS4. So yeah, this is basically like a full jailbreak. I've made a video on how to get a PS4 that is on 4.05 or below, so check that video out if you haven't already. You will not be able to do this if you've updated past 4.05. Now you can check by going to settings and then scrolling down to I believe it's system settings, should be down at the bottom. So system and then system information. And as you can see, I'm on version 3.15, which is below 4.05, so all is good. So this is a new PS4 I bought just for this, just to do this exploit. So anyway, in order to do this, we need to first of all, if you're not already on 4.05, you need to get on 4.05. And obviously you don't want to connect to the internet. So while I'm booting this up for the first time, I'm offline. I don't have my Ethernet cable connected. If you've already connected to the internet, make sure that if it's popping up with a system update, make sure you do not do that system update. Delete it from your downloads before it installs, and head over to network and make sure connect to internet is unchecked to prevent you from accidentally downloading the latest firmware, because we want to install 4.05. So then what you want to do is head down to system and automatic downloads. And what you want to do is turn off system software update files so that it will not automatically download them. Application update files you can probably leave on because that's more like game updates and stuff. But for the other ones you want to make sure they're turned off. Okay, and now you should be pretty much all set. So all we're going to do now is switch over to the computer, and I'm going to firstly show you how to get 4.05, and we need to update from a USB, so you need to have a USB stick as well. But I'll switch over to the computer and show you guys what to do from there. So what you want to do is head over to this link here, which will be linked in the description. So make sure you click the one in the description. Don't go looking for it yourself, because this isn't actually available on PS4 Dev Wiki and in the retail firmware list. It's not in there. So what you want to do is just click the link in the description. It'll open this up to verify that you have the right one. The release date should be the 25th of October 2016, and there's the software version 4.050 is what you want. You can also like match the hashes when you download it as well, just to be sure. And yeah, so just go ahead, click this button here, this one, that takes you to the mega link, which is the download link for the firmware. So go ahead and download that. So once you've downloaded the firmware, what you want to do is put that on a USB. So you want to get a USB stick, make sure, if you right click and go to properties, make sure it's either exFAT, like this one, exFAT, or FAT32. One of those two formats, FAT32 or exFAT, not NTFS, because it will not work if it's NTFS. And if it is NTFS, you can fix that just by right clicking on the device and going to format, and then selecting exFAT or FAT32, whichever option you have to format it. So once you've confirmed it's in either exFAT or FAT32, you want to go into the USB stick, right click and create a new folder called PS4 in uppercase, and then go into that folder, create another folder inside here called update, also in uppercase, and then go in here and put your firmware that you downloaded into this folder. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we probably best rename this to just PS4 update.pup. I'm not sure if this is necessary, but I would do it anyway, so that the file's just called PS4 update.pup. That's what you want. Okay, so once you've done that, you can unplug your USB stick from the computer, plug it into the PS4, and then we'll transfer back over to the PS4 here. Now on the PS4, you want to then head to settings and then go down to system software update, and boom, see, there you go. It says 4.05 is available. That's not downloading from the internet, it's detecting that on the USB stick. So what we're going to do is we're going to just say next and update, and that's going to update to 4.05, which is the firmware we need to be on for this exploit to work. This is the firmware we need for our jailbreak. Okay, so we are almost finished. Here we go. We're done now, I think. Update is complete. Now you should know that you've got 4.05 or you've at least updated the firmware properly, because the notifications will now be white instead of black. So if we sign in here, we'll see that notification in the top left, how it's white. That was normally black before, so we can tell we've updated. There you go, system software version 4.05 update file installed. And if we head to settings and we look at system, and then we go to system information, our system software is now 4.05, and that is the correct firmware that we need to be on in order to do these exploits. So the next thing we need to do is connect to the internet. Now we don't want to download any system software updates, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in my Ethernet cable to reconnect to the internet. Okay, so I've plugged my Ethernet cable back into the console now, and I'm going to head to network, make sure connect to the internet is now on. It should be safe so long as you you did what I said before and you went into the automatic downloads and turned these off, unchecked these, and that'll stop us from downloading the latest software. So with that we can go to network, see view connection status. There we go, I've got a valid IP address now. So once you get your valid IP address, so it's the fourth one down, so 192.168.1.113, that's my local IP address. Note that down because you're going to need it for injecting the payloads. Okay, so now that we're connected to the internet, obviously we want to get access to the exploit, which is a web page. Now, in order to do that, you want to be able to use the internet browser to go on a web page, obviously, and get to that WebKit exploit whenever you want. But unfortunately, as you can see here, you need to be signed into PSN in order to access the WebKit exploit, which you can't do from the internet browser, obviously, because you need to be signed into PSN. Now, there is an internet browser patch which will permanently unlock the internet browser even when you're not signed into PSN, but in order to install that patch in the first place, you need to at least get onto the exploit page once without the internet browser in order to install that patch. So in order to do that, we're going to head to settings, go to user guide, and as you can see, this loads up manuals.playstation.net. So this loads up a web page. Now, you could use this to navigate to Google and then search for one of the WebKit exploit pages, but Sony actually block them. So Sony actually actively block these websites. So even if you find a WebKit exploit page, the exploit won't actually load because either Sony's blocking it or possibly your firewall or something like that can block it. So in order to get around this, there's two things you can do. You can either host it locally or use one of the DNS servers that are already set up, where people have hosted the exploit on their servers and used a DNS redirect, so that when you change the DNS to their server's DNS, it will redirect you to the exploit page, and that gets around Sony's blocking. So in order to do that, I'm going to show you both ways in this video on how to do it, because if you're watching this video in a few months time and these DNS server addresses no longer work in the future, right now they work, but they might not work 2 or 3 months down the line. So I'll show you how to host it manually as well, just in case these addresses don't work for you. But if you're watching this soon after this video comes out, they'll probably be fine. So we're going to go and set up internet connection again, use LAN cable, choose custom, keep everything automatic apart from DNS. So when you get to DNS, you want to select manual, and for primary DNS, you want to put in the DNS server right here, which is going to be, I'll put it in the description as well. It's 108.61.128.158. So we put in that as our primary DNS, and then just click next. Automatic NTU, do not specify proxy, don't bother retesting your internet, there's no point. Just go back into settings and click on user guide, and this time, yeah, you might get an error like that. Just go back on it if you do. Just keep backing out and going back in. There we go. So as you can see, it's changed to the exploit page, and Spectre is the exploit we want to do. If that doesn't work, you can try IDC, but I'm pretty sure Spectre is the one we need. So yeah, that's how you get onto the exploit page using that DNS. Now, if that DNS server doesn't work for you, if by the time you're watching this a few months in the future it's not working, then I'll show you how to host it manually real quick. Okay, so over to the computer. So to host it manually, you need to download this PS4 exploit host, which will be linked in the description. You also want to download and install Python version 3.6.4. It might work with 2.7.14. I would install 3.6.4 though, because it specifically says in the README of the document here, it specifically says something about version 3. There you go, Python 3. It says make sure Python 3 is installed. So I'd recommend Python 3, install that, and then once you have Python 3 installed, you just need to basically go into this folder, start the .exe, and you can see it says that it's running. Now if you get an error that says you know, port TCP 80 is already being used or something like that, then close all your programs, because I know for a fact that Skype prevents this from working. So if you have something like Skype open, then it's not going to work. You're going to get that error. So make sure you close Skype, close Discord, close any chat applications and most of your other applications, and then it should fix it. And then try running it again and it should run. When you see it says servers are running, that means it's working. So now back over to the... Oh, and also note down this IP address right here. This is the local IP address of your computer. And then we go back into the PS4 and we basically do the same thing we did last time, except we use the local IP address this time as our DNS server. So automatic, and then we come to DNS. And then if this site isn't working, then you put in your local IP address while this server's running locally. So 168.1.64 was the IP of my computer. And then I click next, automatic, do not use proxy. And now again, when I go back to user guide, it might take a little while for it to refresh. Back over to the computer here. I think I know why it's not working. You may, if you have a antivirus, it might be blocking it. So I'm just going to disable the firewall on my antivirus, and that's probably what's blocking it. So back over to the PS4 now, user guide. Oh, we're still getting errors, come on. There we go. Geez, that took a while. So yeah, I think it's because my antivirus was blocking it, but I let it through on the firewall. Now I can get on here. So that's one other way you can do it. So I would recommend just using that, the first one method I showed you with the DNS address. Use that. That'll probably work fine. But in the event that that server's down or something, then you can host it locally using this method as well. And load Spectre. Okay, and as you can see, you should get this notification if everything went well, and it says waiting for payload. So now what you want to do is transfer back over to the computer. So on the computer, what you want to do is open up Netcat GUI for injecting our browser patch payload. Type in the IP address of your PS4. Then copy the web browser patch in, so just drag and drop it into payload file path. Change the port from 9023 to 9020. Very important that you do that, otherwise it won't work. And then we can basically just inject this payload. So let me move this over here so you can see properly. So we're just going to go ahead and click inject payload, and it says done, and that's basically it. Once it says it's done, it's basically done. So now all we have to do, if I just transfer back, so all I have to do is I just transfer back. Now obviously all the download links for this will be in the description, the web browser patch, the Netcat GUI, how to host your own WebKit exploit, etc. All in the description. So from this point on, it should be done. So you should be able to just press the middle button on your PS4 to back out and start the internet browser. And there you go. You can see the internet browser now fully works. And we're not connected to PSN, but we have access to the internet browser now. So, and there we go. So now I can just access Google whenever I want. and I can put the other WebKit exploit pages in as well. Now you want to keep that DNS address as your DNS, because I believe that it also blocks like PSN. If we head to manuals.playstation.net and then /GB for Great Britain, obviously if you're in a different country, yours will be different, which is why I'm saying note yours down, don't just copy mine. And then PS4 /index.html. Okay, and that takes us to the WebKit exploit page, and then from there we can just add this as a bookmark. And there we go. So now that that's our bookmark, when we've got this whole thing set up now, so that because we've unlocked the internet browser and we've set it to our default, and we've got that DNS address added, all we have to do now when we next go on our PS4 and we want to load some kind of payload, all we have to do is go to the internet browser and it should load up our exploit page automatically now. And if not, it's right there as a bookmark that you can click on. If I just get rid of this one, yep, delete. So yeah, it's right there now. So whenever we want to load the exploit, we can just go on the internet browser now instead of going into the user guide. And it's better to do it from the internet browser because obviously you can, you now have access to any website you want, and you can also clear your cookies, your website data, and your cache, which is important to do that. Sometimes you'll get out of memory errors, and clearing your cookies and website data can fix that and your browsing history. So that's one other reason why you want to do that. But that is how you get the 4.05 WebKit exploit fully set up on your PS4. Now I know some people might be saying, why didn't you just add the DNS in the first place to get the update as well? Because when you add that DNS address, it blocks PSN and provides you with the 4.05 update automatically, whereas we installed it from a USB. The reason I did that is because obviously it can be, for some people, if you don't add the DNS address right, or it's the wrong address, you miss a character in the IP address, or it just doesn't, or the server's down, you might end up, you won't get the update, or you might get the wrong update, the proper one from PSN, which is like 5.03 or something like that, which would be terrible. So just to avoid confusion and avoid errors, I thought the safest way would be to show you how to install it from a USB stick. So you download the right one, put it on the USB, and then install it that way while you're not connected to the internet, so you'll 100% get the right update installed. That is why I did it that way, even though it's slower than just adding the DNS address and downloading the update file. So anyway, that is how you fully do the exploit for 4.05 PS4s. I'll have lots of videos coming soon on all the other stuff that you can do with this exploit. So mod tools, I believe, lots of other things, running Linux, FTP, stuff like that. And there's more stuff to come as well. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.